Well, the title of this video is going to be why millennials don't buy Jeeps. And this picture just explains it right here. Now, not all millennials are like this, but it is a fact that each generation, as time goes by over many decades, is losing its toughness. Um, they used to say the baby boomers and the hippie generation, the 60s, was horrible compared to the generation of the 30s and 40s, the greatest generation of the Great Depression in World War II. But also, I would say, like, if you go back to the 1860s, during the time between the war between the states, you look at some of the military leaders that produced and the type of hardships people went through for fighting for what they thought was right, whatever side you were on. Um, and actually you're fighting in your own land, right? That war was beyond whatever, any kind of war after that. Uh, but, this is basically true. And I'm going to actually tell you a couple things that you probably don't know if you're a millennial, um, even about the baby boomer generation. Um, yeah, I'll just get into it because, well, first off, I want to say that not all millennials are like that first picture. Here you got a sniper doing his thing over here. He's got his, I don't know, was that a 50 cal or some garbage? I don't even know what that is. 50 cal bolt action, or maybe it's a 308 7.62 by 751 millimeter. Um, not all millennials are fit the millennial cliche, right? But I'm going to tell you this, okay? Back in the 60s, you had the hippie generation, a lot of freaks. But I'm going to tell you that the major media, when you look back, look, if you're a millennial and you look back at the way the major media presents things in the 1960s, actually it wasn't like that. Actually, the 1960s, especially in the early to mid 60s, was very conservative. America was very, very conservative. It was the media that was pushing it. And today, when you're looking at media clips from that time, you think things were really, they generally weren't that wild. This was actually the fringe element. So actually, when people were like, dropping out, it's doing, not with the norm, right? Basically not disciplined hard workers or something. That was not really representing what was going on at that time. Now, the millennials I see as people today, not necessarily like they're compared to the hippie generation, but there seems to be an edge that's lacking, like toughness. Now, also back during the time of the 60s, you had the Vietnam War generation, too. So the same generation that produced the hippies that were, Bill Clinton smoking dope in college and not doing nothing until he becomes president and stuff, governor of Arkansas. Smokes weed to the top, right? And he had the other people that were fighting in Vietnam. But each generation really is getting less tough. There's no doubt about it. Now, when you're looking at this latest Jeep, what is it, a TJ? I used to think unimaginable that you'd have a freaking Jeep that was a four-door. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is like an SUV. I don't even know. Well, I guess it's still real world. It still works. Now, my list of complaints on this, why I wouldn't buy one, would be the exact opposite of what a millennial would be. Like, I was looking at the internet and I was hearing things about the Jeep was too slow. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. This thing's got way more engine than the old Jeeps. Even the old 258 six-cylinder, inline six-cylinder, that was the old engine from the AMC. That engine was way faster than the stuff that was in there before with the little four-banger. I forget what the hell that thing put out with the Go Devil engine or something. The Buick V6, the 225 Buick V6 was the biggie. And the Jeeps back then, even before like the older ones, like the really older ones, there were 3 speeds, man. There's no lockers, but they work good because they're such a short wheelbase. This thing is like a luxury car, and people are bitching that the ride is too rough. It's got air conditioning. Before, I mean, you didn't. Oh, sure, you might have had a heater, but it was so damn drafty it didn't work when over 30 miles an hour. You know, they had no insulation in the floorboards or nothing, or the floor. I mean, the floor is actually made out of metal. I mean, it's a term from the old times. And actually, something like this was more what people considered was a Jeep minus the 50 cal, right? And when you rode this thing, I don't know what the hell this is, to tell you the truth. This is well, it's not a. I guess it's like is that a CJ5? I don't know what the hell it is, but I know like the military Jeep, the one that was before the Hummer, and I'm just going from because I was in from the early '80s to the mid '90s, right? Um, they had the M151. That thing was scary to drive. You can get killed going 20 miles an hour with it if you slammed on the brakes and made a swerve at the same time because there was no stabilizer bar in the front. The thing would flip on a dime. And those unidirectional tires were bullshit, man. I don't know why the hell they used to put those on. The Hummer was like way better, but it was too wide to fit in a lot of places. But that was it. Well, anyway, that's a different. But you look at this. You look at this compared to a CJ5. A CJ7 was luxury. When they were coming out with the CJ7, they were saying it's not a Jeep anymore because they added extra length to it. Now a CJ7 is old school as all hell. But you're looking at these latest 2016, 2017 Jeeps. You got your, traction control. You got climate control, electronic ignitions, 4 doors. It's got tire programs for like if you're doing hill descent or going up a hill, different types of conditions. Even if you don't have a locker in the front or the back, it's got this electronic bullshit. Now that is something I don't like. I personally would rather have a full-time locker just in the rear. That's all you need, and to hell with it. I don't like when you press a button and it goes into 4-wheel drive. I don't like any electronic crap. Maybe, actually, I would prefer on the electronic ignition, I would prefer a points-fired electronic ignition. I would like, if that electronic ignition failed, that I could just pull the damn wire off or flip a switch, a big switch or something like that, and it would just run off of points. Like a points-fired MSD 5A ignition, multiple spark discharge ignition. I wouldn't want fuel injection. I'd rather have a carburetor. I wouldn't want any of this crap that's on these engines they got today. That's me. See, like, I think the exact opposite of a Millennial. Now, this Jeep here, this is a CJ5, I would think this is like a luxury Jeep. Now, somebody else would say, oh, that's really like, I mean, if you got obviously, if you're riding that thing around in cold weather or the rain, you don't want to be riding around like that because you'll freeze your ass off in a heartbeat and get hypothermia. But, you'd have to have a hard top on it and preferably fiberglass doors, hard doors. Because when it gets really, really cold out, believe me, I had the one up with the soft top with the damn, it was Suzuki SJ413, the predecessor to the Samurai. Man, that stupid thing was 20 degrees or even 30 degrees. As soon as you went over about 35 miles an hour, no matter how good the heat worked, it didn't matter because it was too drafty. And I remember the one that we had in the one the guy had in the Sunoco station from way back. He had like an M38, used to plow a lot with. That damn thing was always drafty too. And you couldn't drive that thing over 40 miles an hour. Now I know the really old ones, I remember the Gunny, you freaking riding that, he would drive it, he took that thing up to 65 miles an hour when we were in Korea. And I was like, holy shit, that this guy was going to get us killed, man. But these things, you can cruise down the highway like 75 miles an hour, and it's just like a luxury car, man. Look at that interior. Now, what I hate about this interior, see, somebody like these millennials will look at this interior and say it's too Spartan. It doesn't have enough creature comforts. I'm like, it's way overkill, man. To me, I'd rather skip the BS. I mean, I'd rather have the metal floors with a real thick rubber on the floor, no insulation. metal dash with gauges that are like you can get at the screws, where you can just pull the gauge out, or you can maybe put another hole in the dash, just like the old style, and put another gauge there, no problem. Um, the AC, that's nice. I don't have AC. I got this. I still got the. I have this Suzuki thing. It's not a Jeep. I know it's not a Jeep, but it's well, it's like the same size as an old Willys, right? But I had it for 30 years, man. I bought that thing back in September of 1987, so I've had it a million years. I do videos on it too. Little bullshit. The only thing it's got in it is a locker in the rear. Um, but this thing is luxury, man. But I always look at it like, all these controls in this instrument panel. Like, if you got a problem with that, I'm sure this has got electronically controlled instrument HVAC controls, like heating and ventilation, air conditioning controls. Like, that thing, if that ever broke, that's probably an $800 bill, unless you could take it apart and fix it, which I did on one car before, which was a pain in the ass. Took me all day to do it. Fixed it for like $10, not even. But I'd rather have something like this where you can get at everything. And, if you paint the damn thing, even with, I would personally, I would paint it with chassis saver or Pour 15 and hit it with a coat of truck bed lining. It ain't gonna rust. That was another thing the Millennial was bitching about, that the drive shaft was rusty, and I was like, the drive shaft, yeah, I guess it would have been smart if they painted the drive shaft from the freaking factory, but you could fix that with a $3 can of paint, right? What the hell? You can use rust-killing paint on it, rust-killing primer, and a coat of enamel, and you're done, right? That's not rust to me, a rusty drive shaft or something. The creature comforts are like great on these new Jeeps. The interior noise is like they got insulation on these new Jeeps. These old ones don't have insulation. Now I could compare it to the Suzuki thing, which I know it's not a real Jeep, but it's not. That thing's got no, they used to say, oh, it's got carpet in it. It's got a little piece of carpet, real thin. Yeah, it's got plastic on the back with no insulation. It doesn't really have carpet. The doors are thin. But that's how that thing actually did when they came out with that Suzuki thing. That thing looked ultra freaking luxurious compared to the Jeeps that were out just a few years earlier. Now, the one I got, these ones with the four-wheel drive, the four doors, the longer wheelbase, man, you're not going to flip that shit. You're not going to flip that over. That Suzuki I got, you're not going to, that thing, the one I got is 3.5 inches more narrow than a Samurai. It's the same damn thing. It's like the 1 year prior to it, but it fits in places really easy, But you look at this thing, man. What I don't like about it, it's got too much crap in it. And the Millennials are saying it doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough creature comforts. They're bitching about all this little bullshit. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying to myself, I'd rather see like solid fiberglass seats with a pad that you can change the whole, upholstery real quick for like $50 or some crap, versus something like this. This thing is over the top to me for a Jeep. It's like too luxurious. It's too complicated. It's way over the top, and they're saying the exact opposite. So Jeep is actually missing the mark, because different generations are thinking widely different. So Jeep, when they're gearing this stuff to millennials, the millennials are saying it's slow, and I'm thinking it's got way more power than it needs for a Jeep. They're saying it's noisy, and I'm thinking it's way too luxurious. They're saying it's uncomfortable, and I'm thinking it's like a freaking SUV. I don't know what the hell else they're bitching about. They're bitching about the rust, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Some of that, if I found out later, like the rockers rusted out real easy or something, or the frame rusted, I would think, well, that's bad. But a drive shaft having a little surface rust, you got to be kidding me, man. That crap, even if you never painted it, that damn thing would last decades. Now this is like the interior of a Jeep that I used to think was really clean. It's got no rips in the seats. The foam isn't popping out, and the springs aren't poking you in the ass. Um, the floor isn't have the floors there. There's not like a big gaping hole where you can stick your foot through it and play Fred and run like Fred Flintstone. To me, this is a damn good Jeep interior right here. That's how I think. To me, this is good. The one thing I don't like about it is red, because I don't know what it is. I don't like red. That's just me. I don't know. If I was got a Jeep, it would be green or some shit, or I don't know what. Black, green, blue, gray. I don't know. Turquoise. Um, Maybe even if I got a bright color, maybe yellow, or not even yellow, like what do you call that? Like a sand tan, you know. But that, see, like this is where I like a Jeep like this. And actually, when I look at this with the bucket seats like this is luxurious. Um, you got, they got side support and stuff. And also, you notice, like on a dashboard here, you can, you can pop in more gauges. And of course, you got that big old Jeep shifter way up there. And you got your low range. You see, the other thing too, I don't like this electronic crap. I like it where I don't like any chain drive transfer case. I don't give a crap about those damn things. I want it also where you put it in gear and with a lever, like for four-wheel drive or low range. I don't want anything where you press a button. I don't want any kind of stability control. I don't want anything where it's like it tells you the tire pressure, warning lights, and check engine lights and crap like that. I don't want any of that garbage, man. That's why I wouldn't get one, like a new one. Now, this is like, to me, is good right here. This is fine. That's fine by me. No power steering, no air conditioning, and that's it. That's why, even like now when I get in that Suzuki, which is an '85, and I've had that thing since it was practically new. Um, that thing actually looks like really luxurious compared to this thing, but it doesn't ride like it. I can tell you that right now. And it is but I actually, when I get in that Suzuki and I drive that thing. I'll show it to you actually here. This is it. This is when I put the hardtop on it. I picked up a hardtop used. This is actually a Suzuki hardtop, and I lifted it up myself and put it up on there, man. I got up underneath there and went, "Rah!" Picked it up, man. It was like, well, it wasn't like totally straining, but it's bulky, man. It was like, it's usually a two-man operation to put these things on. But I got it on there, and then I bolted it in there, and I put some straps and big quarter-inch structural rivets. So it's on there good. I don't take it off for the summer or nothing. But I got it on there because it's like, the soft top is not really that warm when it gets cold out. Even when in Florida in the rain and shit, this seals up from the rain a lot better and stuff. A little more security too, because I got stuff in the back of here that tools and axes and ratchet pullers and stuff. And I don't want. It's like it's harder to get in when you got a hard top on it, right? You got a soft top, somebody can just unsnap it and steal all your crap, right? That was the other reason I got it, because I feel better parking it someplace when I go inside to get something. I don't have to worry about somebody getting in there and stealing my crap, right? At least it's harder to do. That was the main reason I got that. But that's my Suzuki. That's not a Jeep, but basically it's the same dimensions as the old Willys. That's why the damn thing works. Actually, these old Suzukis, as a side note, I'm against, well, do whatever the hell you want, but if you're going to really upgrade one of these Suzuki Samurai things, or just an SJ413 Jimny, actually, it's like a Samurai. But if you're going to upgrade it a lot, you're better off just getting a freaking CJ5 or a Willys or something, because you really don't have it. You don't have one of these. Like, if you upgrade it a lot and you change the axles, you change the differentials, you change the engine, you change the transfer case, it's like, what do you got? I mean, you got a Jeep then, you know what I mean? It's like, why go through all that crap when you just buy a Jeep in the first place? But these do work good. Just if you put like a 1.5 inch lift on it, just a couple sizes over on the tires, just slightly over on the tires, and a rear locker, these damn bitches go really, really good. You don't really need to do much to them. You'd be surprised. I used to think I was going to get a Jeep after I was messing around with this after a while, but I began to respect this thing a lot because I was surprised the crap out of me. And actually, a lot of times on sand, this damn thing is so light on sand. This thing really goes, man. So I kind of like that damn thing, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But you know, when you're looking at these new ones, you know, bitching about the power is nuts because it's got loads of power. These Jeeps got loads of power compared to what they were. Now, when I look at this, I go open up the hood and I say to myself, you got a lot of expensive components here. Maybe it's more reliable, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But, you know, I know if you had to replace this engine, it wouldn't be cheap. If you had to replace, you know, a 232 straight 6 or a 258 straight 6 AMC, or if you had a 283 Chevy small block in there as a conversion, or or better yet, a 265 small block, you know, like the old ones, you would really, that would do it. You know what I mean? That would do it. That would be cheap to replace. You know, get a whole rebuilt one for like $1,200 or some shit. Now, what I may get, I'm going to wait though, because right now I'm in the market for more land. But what I would get, if I got a four-wheel drive, I wouldn't get a Jeep. And I wouldn't get an old Jeep. I would get like this. This is the last year for this body style on the Chevy truck. This is the 66 short bed step side four-wheel drive. That's what I would get. I mean, yeah, you don't have the back seat, but you got that bed. And the short bed, the short wheelbase, and, you know, the step side. The step side's very handy, actually, in a lot of ways. Yeah, you can't quite put as much in the bed, but that step side, sometimes it's a lot easier to put something in the bed because you got that step side with the four-wheel drive when it's higher up. You know, or to get into bed because you got that step without having to go in the back, you know, through the back. I would get something like this. And if it was just a, you know, stove bolt 6-cylinder, fine. With a 4-speed, fine by me, man. Fine by me. This is what I would do. But this would be like the exact opposite of what a Millennial would do. And I don't care, you know, AC would be bad, but I wouldn't really care too much. Because as long as you got some, you know, I could drive, you know, into Florida like in August. I was taking a long trip with that this weekend in a Suzuki with just a one window open on the driver's side. And it was August. It was 12 to 1 o'clock in, you know, noontime, right, you know, right in the afternoon, early afternoon. It was 98 degrees out and humid. The only time I really was bothering me when it was too hot was when I was stopped. You know, I was thinking, oh shit, let's get going here. But otherwise, when it's going, even with the hard top and not having the back open and stuff like that, and just having the one window open, it was fine. It was fine. And that's in Florida in August. So this was August, what the hell's today? August, this was the other day. So that was August 6th. So right smack in the middle of the winter, summer, you know. So I don't really think you really don't need air conditioning. You need air conditioning if you're driving around in a suit and you're all dressed up or some shit. Or you got to take Puss someplace and she's bitching about the air conditioning. But, you know, her makeup's running or something, you know, the war paint. That's when you need air conditioning, but otherwise you don't need it, you know. That's another story. But Millennials, are bitching about stuff on these new Jeeps that it's like the exact opposite of the way I think. You know, they're saying it's too slow, it's not comfortable enough, it's too noisy, the ride is harsh. Um, Complaining about not having enough features on it or something like that. It was another thing. Um, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. This thing is like a luxury. This thing reminds me of like a Range Rover or something. I mean, that's what it is. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how to me, the other thing is, I look at it though like this. These parts in these new Jeeps, they must be a ripoff to replace. Like if you need to get some new latch or something. Oh, they're bitching about the hood latch too. The hood latch is you can't secure the hood or something like that. Well, yes you could. Yes you could. If you wanted to, you can actually probably set something up from the inside with the cable or something where you can pull something and secure it. That's what I would do. But or vibrations. There was another bitch they were saying. It was like, well, shit, it's a four-wheel drive. Damn it, you know. You know what? You know what? You know what they got to do? If Jeep was ever gonna, they'd probably kill a few millennials in the process. But they ought to have an M151 military Jeep out there. Let them test drive that first, then have them go in the TJ. But the problem is if they test drive the 140, 150, M151. They probably roll it over and die or some shit because those things really do roll over. There's no stabilizer bar in the front. You know what I used to date? Consumer Reports told you about the Suzuki rolling over. Oh, that's bullshit. They were slamming that Suzuki because it was eating up market share from Jeep, and I think Consumer Reports got paid off to slam them. So Suzuki finally pulled out of selling those things over here in the United States. But if you a Suzuki, man, that thing is not easy to roll over. Now mine might be easy to roll over because it's 3.5 inches more narrow than the Samurai. It's not exactly a Samurai. I got the same engine, same transfer case, same differentials, but the axles are shorter and the body's the same, but it don't have those flares on the body. So the track is 3.5 inches more narrow. I think actually, if I was in the market for a Jeep and I was going to go off-roading, I'd get a CJ5. I wouldn't even get a 7. But I wouldn't be a serious off-roader by no means. It would be very rarely I'd do that shit. I would get the 7. I would get the CJ7. But me, the way I'm thinking is I'd get the 66 Chevy truck step side, short wheelbase, four-wheel drive over a Jeep. That's what I would do because you can put stuff in it. You can use it as a pickup. Now, obviously, there's other Jeeps out there that are pickups, and there's other types out there that have sort of like a half pickup body, but they're so damn rare. It's like I'd rather be dealing with Chevy, you know. But I don't know. Millennials are really, this generation. During the baby boomers, when the hippies were around, there was nowhere near as many hippies like this type of stuff. Per the media, they made it look like everybody was like this. Actually, this was not the case. This was like Berkeley University or something or whatever, some, and it wasn't even everywhere there. Like even back in the 60s, the universities, even where it was like the hippie generation, it was far more conservative by far in most universities than it would be even today. So like people looking back at this era when it got real radicalized in the 60s, it wasn't even, there was like one element being pushed by the major media. The average person back in the 60s was far more conservative and rugged, even in that baby boomer generation. But nowhere near as what you call the greatest generation of 30s and 40s, World War II and the Great Depression. Now, when you're talking about the millennials, this would be more the norm. I can't find my sippy cup. Than something like this, the USMC Sniper. This would be not the norm. when you're talking about the baby boomers, you'd be more likely to see somebody of the Vietnam generation than of the hippie generation, despite what the media says. That's how things have been progressing the wrong way. And that's why these millennials don't like Jeeps, man. I mean, even though these Jeeps are four-door SUV Range Rover luxury vehicles compared to what the hell they were, they're still bitching about them. You know, tire noise, wind noise, rattles. I don't know. Not enough features. I don't know, stupid. They don't like the positioning of some control knob on the HVAC. Crap, man. You gotta be kidding me. What I think is overly complex, too much electronic crap. A lot of stuff on here that's probably high dollar if you break it. Like, I'm sure when you smack one of those mirrors or knock one of those mirrors and smashed it, damn thing's probably a few bucks to replace. I don't think there's a lot of stuff on here. I bet you these parts on these Jeeps are not cheap. I'd rather have a Jeep where you can just weld something on or get some aftermarket bullshit and bolt it on the door and you're good to go, you know? Like this, you know? You can bend up the bumper on that, well, I'll just smack it out, or maybe I'll get my cut-off wheel and put a couple cuts in it so I can bend it back and weld it up again, you know? That's how I think. You wouldn't do that with this thing. You'd be taken to the body shop and they charge you with the clear coat, and I was like, God, clear coat, right? Yeah, it's got too much bullshit on it. My complaints are the exact opposite of what the millennials are. So maybe they're gonna have a hard time selling these damn things. I don't know. Personally, I think they ought to make the new Jeeps all out of aluminum too, real thick aluminum. They'll never rust. You can take them up New York State, Sarasota, up in Maine on the coast, New Hampshire or something. They'll never rust, man. At least the bodies. Maybe the frames will rust, but the bodies won't, right? Make the whole damn thing out of aluminum. Take it up to Upper Michigan. What, they got this, That's one thing they ought to do if you're going to do all this complicated shit. Make the whole damn thing out of aluminum. I guess the only thing they got today that's all aluminum is those Fords, right? But they're a bunch of electronic crap, too. Now, speaking of aluminum, I know I'm going off long in this video, but one thing that's probably an ideal little four-wheel drive vehicle is going back to this damn Suzuki. If they made this thing and the long wheelbase, which is still pretty short, they got this Alcoa aluminum body that's way stronger than this tin can bullshit and these Suzukis. It's made up in Canada. It's Alcoa, right? It's aluminum body. What you get the long wheelbase, and then you put the Volkswagen 1.6 diesel in it. You can get about 40-something miles to the gallon. It's real simple, never rust. And with the long wheelbase, it's just a little less off-road worthy, but it's not going to flip over too easy. So, man, I don't know, these guys are a bunch of yo-yos. I wish I ran a car company. No millennial would buy it. That's the problem. No millennial would buy it. Millennials aren't buying motorcycles today, too. Not just Harley Davidson or something. They just aren't buying motorcycles, period. I can get by with a Jeep only. As a matter of fact, I was using my Suzuki Jeep down here. Suzuki Jimny SJ413 for about, because I didn't use the Camino that much. I used that in the Harley almost all the time because they got better gas mileage. I'd say for the first 5 years I was here in Florida, and I was doing about 40,000 miles a year in the hot weather and the rain and all this kind of shit. It was either the Harley Davidson or the Suzuki. And I'd use the El Camino once in a while, but definitely not much, because it ate gas because it's a 350 V8, right? And I use it sometimes. Well, if it's a hurricane, I would take the El Camino because the Suzuki probably blow over, and I wouldn't want to be out there on a motorcycle. But you know, this I would get the '66 Chevy. I like these with the lights on the top of the hood like this. This is the last year for this body style. I like this thing. You know, I would like something just like that with nothing too radical with the little baby hubcaps on it. Just kind of blue with the white top. That looks fine to me. The gas tank behind the seat and the driver, that's fine by me. You don't need to switch that. I don't smoke cigarettes, so you're going to blow it up. This would be my ideal four-wheel drive. Probably with a straight six, or maybe a 265 V8 and a 4-speed. That's it. But, you know, if I go something new, it's going to be something like this, or maybe older. 50s, 40s, 30s, I don't know. But this is good, too. But I do not think like a millennial in the least. I don't even think like my generation. My generation, these stupid baby boomers, they are afraid to do 99% of the shit I do. They really are. They're afraid to do 99% of the shit I do. But you know, just get out there and do it. And the more shit you do on your own, and the more shit you fix on your, the more stuff you fix on your own, the more you're going to say, I do not want electronic gizmos that cost a lot of money that I can't repair. Because I could tell you, in the last, I don't know how many decades, I fixed everything that broke on any one of my vehicles. I got the El Camino, that Suzuki thing, 2 cars, and a motorcycle. All right, and a couple trailers. I never took them to a garage and had anybody fix anything. I fixed everything myself. And I'm not a mechanic. I'm an accountant. I just do this crap for fun, you know. Like old Cooter Davenport on freaking Dukes of Hazzard. I do my own work, man. So, okay, there, you millennials. Go pay attention to my channel. Go look on my car videos on how to fix shit. Not this bullshit I'm talking about right now, because this is kind of like just a talk thing. But I got a lot of stuff on my channel where I go do stuff and I tell people little tricks on stuff. And that's the beauty of stuff. That's why I like the old shit. Anyway, freaking General Motors, Chrysler Corporation, and Ford would be totally out of business if everybody was like me. There's no doubt about it. I would not buy that shit. No way, no.